And you recommend a professional tax service while we're going through the living in the private program? The answer is I got a guy, but he's old as dirt and he doesn't take on a whole lot of customers anymore, but he knows the IRS code probably better than anybody. And he knows that, he helps people with those last returns or whatever. But I don't know if he's taken on. And the reality is just getting a return filed and doing it in honor is pretty much everything. And doing that notice of final return because you've operated the office as the trustee of the trust, the BC, and you received a W-2 or a 1099, and you have to operate in honor. And so that's the filing of the return. The filing of the return allows them to set off the debt, allows them to get paid. You will, if, and I can't say this with 100% certainty, but I've never seen a charge instrument given to somebody who's filed a lawful return and not been able to pay. I've seen charge instruments only given to people that, get a W-2 or get a 1099 and don't file a return failure to file. I'm not saying that's going to be forever. Back in, guys, we just in this last century, we had I read a newspaper and we were a debtor prison state, a debtor prison country, meaning if you had debt and you couldn't pay debt, you went to jail. And I read a newspaper in 1927 from my dad's pile after he had passed. And the newspaper flat out talked about a guy owing $1.50 in rent. His rent was $2.50 for a room, and he couldn't pay it. And he ended up doing multiple days in jail for $1.50. I couldn't believe it. So we don't know what is going to be held in the future, especially as it relates to incarceration for a debtor. But this is why we do not want to be a debtor. This is why we want to be a creditor. And this is also the reason why you have opportunities and options for bankruptcy and or settlement or set off. Um, we at His Advocates do not promote settlement or set off or discharge. Not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not saying it's not real. We just don't do that because they pluck out one out of every 50 people making attempts to do it, and ones that do it wrong because they're being misled by some guru who makes claims that are not true. And that's generally what it is. And they pick that guy out, do a charge instrument. That guy spends the next 3 years of his life trying to, get out from that negative charge. And so we don't play those games. We operate in honor. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying it's not honor. I look at those funds as blood money, and I really don't want to touch um that system or that structure. I got two hands, I got a brain, I can get out there and work and I can figure things out. And I think people believe that they're owed by the government, and they have this entitlement because the government used their live born record, put it on a BC, and then monetized the BC. Well, it's their BC. You never made a proper claim against the BC. And this is why a lot of people are getting in trouble out there, is they're not doing what it takes to have a private side live born record again, and or to bring that BC into a probate court or bankruptcy court and become the primary creditor on it, and then maybe have the opportunity for settlement and discharge. So it just is what it is. So I know I'm going a little bit exaggerated on the conversation, but um, I want safety for people. That's all.